Greetings. Today I'd like to talk about investing. I get lots of people asking me about living here in Hawaii. I think things are getting kind of rough over on the mainland or something. There's more people than usual looking at it. Well, you're going to have to invest some time. That's for sure. You're probably going to have to invest some money, and you're going to have to invest a lot of energy. A lot of energy, probably. Most likely. So, I want to talk about investing. It seems to me that when I bring up that word, I hear, maybe half of the people out there go, "Oh, I got Bitcoin." Okay. Then I hear others, say, "Oh yeah, I do day trading." Okay. Lately, a few of them said, "Yeah, I had some GameStop stock." Well, getting closer there. Yeah, none of that is really what I'm referring to when I say investing. I think to begin with, most of us who are gardeners and, like organic food and that type of, protecting the planet and all that, most of us probably feel we have a certain amount of social responsibility. At least I feel that way. I don't usually engage in things that I know are going to be overtly destructive. I'm beginning to realize that plastic is filling in the oceans, and so I'm trying to eliminate how much plastic I'm using, and so forth. A lot of us are like that. We don't want to use toxins on our foods. It's bad for us. It's bad for the planet, and so on. Well, the same really goes with investing. Yeah. And when it comes to growing a successful garden, when you invest your time in a successful garden, it usually works out because you have diversified. Same goes when you're investing for capital. Diversification is a big deal. And so that's kind of why, I sort of shrug my shoulders when I hear people say, "Oh, I got Bitcoin." Well, that's not diversified to begin with, okay? It's representing only one single thing. That's it. You win or you lose or you make nothing. That's that. There's no way to balance what it's doing. I guess you can buy a whole lot of different Bitcoins and hope for the best, but that still isn't really what I refer to as diversification. Diversification is really placing money on many different sections of the economy and the society. It says you got money in farming, you got money in cars, you got money in industry, you got it in rockets, you got it in, banks, you have it in many different places, medical companies, and so on. Sometimes things are going up, other things are going down. Yes, and diversification helps prevent getting wiped out. Yeah, and you don't really get that much when you're invested in metals, for instance. And this whole phenomena that occurred with shorting GameStop, okay, that's not what I'm talking about either. And in fact, I personally don't care for shorting stocks at all. And so when I talk about investing, I am not talking about shorting stocks. Because, I believe there's a certain amount of social responsibility in where my money comes from. Yeah, I've usually set my life in such a way that I don't have to answer to anybody, for how did you get your money? What did you do to get it? Well, I generally made most people happy in the process, and so I have few people to complain about having given Bill their money. I like it that way. Well, in a sense, the kind of investing that I'm talking about, of course, is on Wall Street. It's on the NASDAQ or the Amex or the New York Exchange, actually buying and selling companies. Predominantly, I'm talking about companies. And actually, the reality is, I have people tell me, oh, God, you got lucky, with the money you made on Wall Street. And no, not quite. Luck actually had very little to do with it. Now, some of these schemes like, day trading stocks and that, yeah, that's a blackjack table. Now, you may be using an algorithm that helps you predict trends and lines, things where things are moving. That can be, so there's maybe a little more science in it than blackjack, but pretty much day trading is Vegas. And, it may benefit you or it may not benefit you, depends. That's what gambling is all about. But it, in general, doesn't benefit anyone but you if you win most of the time. Because, you're putting money on a company and you're saying, okay, here's some money, go ahead, invest it in your company on the market. But then, later that day when that share goes up 32 cents, you say, no, that ain't your money anymore. Take it away. You made 32 cents a share on 1,000 shares, and so you made a little money that day. You did it kind of at the expense of the economy, the company, and everything else. So that is not what I'm talking about when I talk about investing. I'm talking about buying companies. Essentially, what it amounts to when I go in and I start to pick on companies in the market and lay money on them, basically, I'm loaning money to a company. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking money out of my pocket. I'm sticking it on a stock that represents Amazon or Google or whatever I'm putting it on. And I'm saying, I like that company. I use that company. I approve of what they're doing. And I think they got good books and fair management. And so I can afford to loan some of the money that I have that I'm not using to that company to be able to enrich their books and have more cash flow. But I am expecting, with reasonable promise, that later when I go back to say, hey, I think I'm going to take my money back now, you've had it for a while, I'm expecting to see a profit on it. That's what I hope. Now, many stocks have dividends. They just kind of pay out, like a little machine, certain amount of what you've invested. And of course, those will usually always have piled something up between the time you bought them and the time that you got rid of them for whatever reason. Other stocks don't have dividends. They have growth. Amazon has no dividend, but incredible growth, thousands and thousands of percent money. And it's not stopping either, by the way. And even with Bezos moving over as CEO, it's still going up in general. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's amazing how high it has gone up. And so there's a stock where the money you loaned Amazon, 10 years ago, maybe, is really performing in growth-wise. If you go in and call some of it back, you'll be able to call a lot of it back for a long time if you had put money on them. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about investing. Luck does not have much to do with it. Some. But in general, if you have reasonable business acumen and when you're looking at a company and you bother to, do the due diligence there, check how are the books, what do people say about it, what do the analysts have to say about things there, look it over and see, does it look like it's a pretty good thing. Now, for me, I'm going to pick on it usually right off because I use it. That's simple. If I use the company, I own it. That's kind of the way I think. And if I don't use the company, because, it's like Richard Branson there, he's got his Virgin Galactic. That's the space tourism rocket. Basically, it'll take people to space station hotels if you got, multi-million dollars and so on. Eventually it will. There's a case where I will probably never use his services. But I really believe in commercial spaceflight. Yeah, I totally believe in the idea. And so I'm putting money on it. Even if I never use it, doesn't matter to me. Because what I know is commercial spaceflight now is the same thing as commercial aviation at the end of World War I. Yeah, it's ground floor, man. That's up a little bit, but I'm telling you, most of it is still privately held, which you can get your hands on through exchange-traded funds that do it. That's one easy way. Otherwise, individual issues that you can grab. Eventually, I'd say in 10 years' time, you're going to find that you'll be real glad you'd bought into commercial space flight. I use Tesla's products, so I own Tesla's company. There's a bunch of companies that I use their products where I don't own stocks in them, because some of them aren't even traded on the market. But point being is something that I believe in, something I use. You don't really need to know much. I hear people tell me, "Oh, I don't know anything about investing. Oh, it's so complicated." No, not really. Like I said, you're loaning money to companies you like and use with the hope that you're going to get a return for having lent them the money. Like I say, if you hang in there for about 10 years' time, you're going to see it. Oh my goodness. I don't know. Sometimes I think I must be a bit psychic because I'm looking at my portfolio, which has about 4 dozen different issues in it. So it's very diversified. It's across medicine. It's across all sorts of different things. It covers many different aspects of our economy. Well, right now, if I look at everything I have in my portfolio is in the green. Well, that's ridiculous. There's no way I should be making money on everything that I bought, but I am. I suppose most of it has to do with good picks. The rest of it, though, is the market right now. Oh my goodness. I have never seen anything like this in my life. I've been invested in the stock market for about 40 years. And in 40 years' time, I have never seen anything that looked like this. We went through that Great Recession or correction or whatever you want to call it, the Great Correction in 2008 there at the end of the Bush-Cheney years. And then throughout the next administration for 8 years, we had a climb and a climb and a climb and a climb. And it got to a point where it was not a recovery anymore. It became an upward bull market. And so the bulls, as they say, were charging ahead with our market. Well, there were a couple of bear days and moments in there, but by and large, it's been over 10 years, over a decade of pretty much straight up. Anything you bought 10 years ago, today, it's all profitable, pretty much. Yeah, as long as it shows decent companies. And I recommend, if you're building a portfolio now, it's something that's new to you, start with what we call blue chips. Yeah, don't do this penny stock day trading crud. It's frustrating, it's very stressful, and you run a very good chance of losing your money and never going back into something that's actually very good for America. And so go in and buy yourself some, General Electric. Buy Ford. Ford's looking pretty good right now. I buy GM with the current administration we have and the Congress we have. I do believe, I know Biden is talking about converting all of the national fleet to EVs. So we're going electric vehicles, folks. China, all of their orders coming up are all for electric vehicles. Most manufacturers are turning that way, but GM has said by 2035, no more gas cars coming out of GM. Okay, so invest in electric vehicles and invest in the support network that will charge the cars, or the ones that will set up hydrogen stations, because we'll be seeing that coming on too. Gasoline is going away. Fossil fuels is, was a momentary aberration that occurred during the last administration, where they thought if they took all the clamps off of gas and oil and coal, it's gonna no, it's over, folks. It's already over. And we here in the house, I produce all of my own electricity at home. I charge my car at home. It's an EV. I'm usually a little bit ahead of the curve with this kind of stuff. Trust me, in the next 10 years, a lot of you are going to be in the same situation where photovoltaics, hydrogen power, electric cars, the planet's going there. We haven't noticed because of the clown we had for 4 years there. But the planet has already gone there behind our backs while we were heading the other direction for a while and distracted. We're not distracted anymore. And so there'll be money in these things. There'll be profit in electric vehicles, solar energy. There'll be profit in wind power. There's going to be profit in a whole lot of businesses connected to a cleaner planet, to reduction of carbon emissions, and so on. These are, these are places where you can speculate in the future that you're probably going to make good money within about 5 to 10 years. On most of that. Yes, sirree. So, as I say, it's been unprecedented. I have never seen anything like this. Everything's in the green. There will be a correction coming up. There's going to be a correction, meaning whether you want to call it a recession or what the heck it's going to be. It's kind of hard to predict it because right now we got quite the international disaster occurring, yet the stock market's been doing real good. Really, if you knew how to use it, there's been a 1 to 2% bounce on most of the really good stocks during all of COVID. They go down one day, they go up the other. And then down one, down up, down up, down up, down up. And I know I bought and sold Amazon. Sold it at the up, bought it at the down. Sold it at the up, bought it at the down. And we're only talking like maybe 2% up and down, but with a stock at the value of Amazon, that's a lot of money. And it was happening day after day after day after day after day. I don't usually fiddle around with buying and selling things that rapidly, but when I saw the pattern and it was consistent, I couldn't resist too. And so I did a little bit of that buying and selling stuff. But in the long run, I hung on to all the issues I had with much greater profits than I had previously. So, yeah. I'm always encouraging people into this, even though, I'm like, a guitar-playing gardener, but I keep talking about investing because I've been doing it successfully for many years, and I know that's why I'm in the situation I'm in. Yeah, some of it was my hard work. I made money working, and I took that money, and instead of just spending it all on beer, I went ahead and I invested a good portion of it as time went on. See, now I hear people say, well, it takes a lot of money to buy stocks. No, that's absolutely wrong. It takes a lot of money to buy real estate. That's true. And there's some other things that might cost you a lot to get into, but not stocks. I started my first brokerage account by putting a $100 bill in the account. That opened the account. And if I was buying stocks that were only worth $3 a piece, I could have bought quite a bit of stock for that $100. But I, gradually started putting more and more and more of the income I had into accounts, both regular trading and into IRAs. IRAs are a great place to be shoveling money into because then you don't have to worry about the taxes on that until someday way out in the future where you may have to start to sell some of that. Then you're going to answer it Uncle Sam, but you'll answer at a lower tax rate because you'll probably be retired. And in the meantime, you don't have to mess around with any serious tax stuff at all when you've got an IRA. You can buy and sell inside that IRA, and that's all shielded. It's very easy. So I recommend it because if you set up a personal IRA, then you don't want to go breaking it down until you're at least 59. Otherwise, the penalties are extreme. It's not worth it. So there's an incentive when you've put money into an IRA to keep it there. And you can set yourself up so that your deductions feeding the IRA or feeding a 401k if your workplace offers one it's done off the paycheck automatically. You never see the money. That's the way I did it. Because if I saw the money, I want to spend it. So I don't look at the money. I take our percentage and had it just directed into accounts outside of my hands. Nothing to do with it. And we're only talking, $100 at a time, $20 at a time. We're not talking about a lot of money that was flowing into these accounts. But as they pile up, then I have enough that I can go in and invest. And when investments start to pay off, then I can turn around and I made more money. And maybe the dividends started to pay for more investments. And pretty soon, the account itself becomes a money-making machine that even if you never took any more money out of your pocket, it will probably be offering you money that you can spend from the inside. It's the way it works. Those of you who have the dream, maybe, of perhaps country living, peaceful retirement, someplace with clean air, quiet, a culture that's tolerable and so on, that these things all cost money. And generally, the more desirable the setting is, generally the more it costs you. There are exceptions to that, but so it takes money. It takes money, and you can skimp, you can economize. There's all kinds of different things a person can do to minimize how much cash is actually flowing out. But the ideal goal, in my mind, is that you want to be debt-free by the time you reach about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through your life. That is my goal. It is something we accomplished. I have no debts. Nothing. The insurance company wants my homeowner's insurance, and, the tax man wants tax off any profits that I might make. Although there's ways around that too when you become skilled with working with our tax codes. Tax codes really aren't designed for the poor. And they're not designed for what do we want to call the working slob. No, the folks who work for a living, building cars or whatever they do, and have the paycheck, this stuff's automatically deducted. Most of us in that situation really take it. We get burned on our taxes pretty bad. On the other hand, investors, entrepreneurs, people who run small businesses, corporate taxes, limited liability, partnership taxes, and things like that. Those are so sweet. The tax codes are written for people who invest. Yes, they're written for that. Let's say you put $1 on the market, right? You buy a stock, and the stock's no good, and you put $1 on the market, but you lost half of it. You only got back 50 cents when you got scared and said, "Forget it, that was a bad buy. I'm selling it and getting out before I lose any more money." Well, when it comes to tax time, you tell the IRS, "Look, I sold this stock, but I sold it for half the value that I actually paid originally." Well, the IRS allows you to deduct that dollar for dollar, penny for penny. Loss is good with the IRS and our tax code. Never be afraid of losing, because losing is what cancels profits. And so when you have loss that you can justify canceling profit with, you don't pay the government any taxes. Thank you. That's how people get away with making billions and not paying anything, basically. It's the tax code, and it's legal. Right now I'm sheltered because of solar energy. We stuck some of the money we were making in the stock market. I pulled some out, sold some stock. We set the house up with pole photovoltaics, a Tesla Powerwall, electric car charger, bought a brand new Chevy electric car, and and so on and so forth. Well, all of that is tax deductible because there are credits for EV cars. There are also tax credits for alternative energy. Now, we caught them at a point before they started to go down. They're at 20% this year. They were 30% last year or the year before when we put, the year before when we put the stuff on the house. I think with the current administration and Congress, we probably will be looking at this sort of thing being renewed. And so, you might be able to go ahead and put solar energy on top of your house and then turn around and not have to pay any taxes for quite a while because of what you did. And in our case, like I said, I used money from an IRA that had been made by the stocks, and when I sold the stocks within 6 months, the money I took out to buy the car and the EV, it was back again. With a lot of money. Come right back. It was as if I never even touched it. But I get to write it off on taxes for the next 8 years. And considering, I'm pretty much retired, I don't produce a lot of income. That keeps me away from the tax man now for a long time. It'll even clear that hurdle of having to take a percentage out of the IRA at 70 and a half years. I'll have to do that. Government forces me to have to take some of that money out and spend it so they can tax me. The solar energy will cancel the taxes I'll have to pay when that happens. There are so many things in the tax code that if you actually use them to your advantage when you're in a situation to be able to do that. Investors do, independent entrepreneurs do, corporations do. When you're in that category, the taxes are almost your friend. I like the tax man. The farmer. I'm a farmer, and the tax code is lovely for farmers too. Yes, it's a very good place for farmers. So I suggest that you aim towards being able to get rid of all your debt. I guess some of the ways we did that was that I'm not enticed by shiny objects. There's a lot of stuff, out there in the economy that comes at you. You gotta have this, you gotta have that, this is the latest thing. Oh my God, the style and this and that. Well, obviously, Bill is really stylish, right? Right. I wear work clothes most of the time and baseball caps. I'm not into what's glitzy. You can roll a shiny dime down the sidewalk, and I'll probably let it go to the next guy. $20 gold piece, I'll bend over for it. But we get so distracted in our economy by all this stuff. Shop, consumer. I've done videos in the past where I said that being a consumer is being on the wrong end of this economy. It's the producers are the ones that have it. The producers have you by the short and the skinnies. If you're the consumer, well, you're at the mercy of the system pretty much. And you're manipulated often by advertising to really spend a whole lot more money on worthless garbage than you ever really needed. There's a lot of stuff that we dump money on that we didn't need to do that at all. And if we focus on the big picture and take a look at money that we're bringing in as being a tremendous resource, nothing that should be squandered, okay? That income that you make with the sweat of your brow and the pain in your back is hard won, and it's very important because if you can put a significant amount of that income into an investment, the investment begins working for you so you can stop working. Yes, the rich don't work for a living. They invest, and frequently with other people's money. Yeah, that's how that works. Working for a living is a bourgeois myth in our society. The middle class are kept in that space by what we call the American dream or nightmare, take your pick. So Bill's back again on his gardening channel, encouraging everybody to think about investing. And I'm not talking about Bitcoin, okay? And I'm not talking about jumping on the GameStop short. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about finding companies that you love, companies you respect, companies that you own stuff from them, that's part of your life. If you like that stuff and if it's publicly traded, hey, put some money behind the company. Don't just, buy a guitar from Fender. Put your money behind whoever is investing in Fender guitars, If you like your new Camaro, well, my goodness, invest in General Motors. Why not? I mean, I don't do it anymore because I don't use gasoline. But when I was running gas cars in California all the time, I did own oil companies, particularly oil deposits. Rather than the companies, I preferred the deposits. And I still own a few, all right? I do. I admit it. I own a few oil deposits. And the reason I did that was because they kept jacking the price of oil up at the pump constantly. I go to the pump, it'd be $5 a gallon, and I'm cussing, going, look, man, I got to have this stuff to get to work. This is crazy. And so I said, forget it. I never liked oil companies, but I started investing in them. All the ones, the stuff that had good dividends. When I saw good dividends that paid back, and as it turned out, because of that, I lived in California for 25 years, and I actually never paid a penny for a gallon of gasoline. Not if you figure the dividends that came back to me off of my oil reserve trusts. In those days, I was using BP. That's not a good one anymore. You got to keep moving around with some of these. But at that time, it was paying like 10, 12% dividends. I own a few in the Gulf of Mexico still and that. But it would just pile out enough cash that annually I'd have made enough money off of that it paid for the gas bill. I started to smile every time I went to the pump and saw that the price of gas went up because I knew they were going to increase my dividend. It's crazy, isn't it? But it's true. You don't have to be on the stick end of the economy like a lot of us are. You can be on the other side of the economy where the advantages of all this are coming to you. And the main way you do that is by investing in the businesses that the economy is based on. Yeah. Aloha, folks. It's been fun. I enjoyed this one as usual. So y'all hang loose.